Chapter 4. Next, what we are going to look into is urban renewal. Urban renewal is a continuous process of remodeling the older parts of urban areas, including the central business districts, by means of rehabilitation as well as conservation, and certain parts by redevelopment. So, what is the requirement to do urban renewal is that the dilapidation and the aging of any urban area, though well planned and developed, requires renewal once in 2 decades or 3 decades because of squatting of settlements, inadequate facility of infrastructure. Certain places have to be facelifted to give the public areas a good aesthetic appeal, etc. So this process of conserving, preserving, redeveloping and rehabilitating the urban areas, the older parts of the urban areas with the central business districts and the areas surrounding it is called as urban renewal. The displacement of existing low economic population, creating space for profitable office, commercial, luxury residential or provision of transportation facilities. Like how I listed, it is the improvisation of the infrastructure, removal or relocation of the squatted settlements, conserving and preserving the public areas, redeveloping the central business district into profitable areas of high valuable potential commercial areas. Urban renewal, by definition, is to deal with the urban decline, decay, or transformation. So it is comprehensive and integrated vision and action which leads to resolution of urban problems, which seeks to bring lasting improvement in the economic, physical, and social environmental conditions of the area. After a period of time, after the older parts of the city are developed in full and the threshold capacity of the cities have been reached, the urban areas decay or transform. In order to bring about a resolution for these problems, we have to look at it in 4 perspectives, which is a physical perspective, meaning relocating, remodeling, rehabilitating certain areas, social perspective of doing a mixed use development or moving the low income groups to a certain areas near their occupational facilities, or an environmental perspective of conserving the natural areas and also removing certain areas of automobile movement and making it a purely NMT, non-motorized transport corridors, so thereby reducing the pollution in that area, and the heat island effect is also reduced, so the environmental condition is improvised. Or if it is a dilapidated central business district with overcrowding and extreme high density, so the economic perspective of that area is reduced, considering that it is a area of black town, or example a Georgetown in Chennai. So the looking at it in an integrated perspective and a comprehensive perspective and redeveloping that area into a shopping center so that people can look at it in a high potential valued perspective and thereby improving the economic value of that area. So this can involve rearrangement of land uses, um, uh, redesigning the development control regulations, taking the ownership of certain parcels and acquisition of the land so that some development can happen, etc., can be done. Removal of the slums and making it into a well organized neighborhood All those things are the methods of achieving urban renewal. So when we understand urban renewal, it is the regeneration or rebirth of plagued urbanization. What is a plagued urbanization? A plagued urbanization is something which has brought sickness or illness to the city which has developed to the full. Like, for example, if a city has become a metropolis in the recent times from what it was, because of the increase in the population, the infrastructure would have decreased, as in the width of the roads are not sufficient enough, the overcrowding of the central business districts, and developing of settlements which have very low or lacking of infrastructure, as well as the conditions of the health conditions, and as well as the physical conditions of the settlements are very dilapidated in worst health conditions that people cannot no longer stay in that. So this all these things are the illness. This is called as decaying of the cities, and initially it's referred to slum clearance or in a very normal perspective. But what do we call the central business district, which is also affected, where the prices of the shops and the shopping areas are really the highest? So earlier in America in 1930s, many people like Jane Jacobs, who came up with concepts of death and life of great American cities, where they spoke about mixed-use development, low economies, finding a way of rationalizing the urban poor and the middle class, looking at housing affordability of housing for these people near the places of employment, etc., by means of urban renewal. So urban renewal programs cannot be done only by the designers or by authorities or planners. It requires the full support and participation of the communities who are involved in this area. So urban renewal is required because of certain reasons. For example, there are some catalysts which cause immediate requirement of urban renewal. The first is effective functioning of administrative towns, state headquarters and district headquarters, etc. If it has to function in the most uplifted manner, they have to urban renew the place. In order to accommodate an event of large magnitude, like for example SAF Games, Asian Games, and so many other Olympics or an IPL, so that area is has to be urban renewed to fulfill the conditions of the urban area, at the same time bring the town eligible for that event. So, suddenly, if there is a man made or a natural calamity, such as earthquake in Bhuj or plague in Surat, or a bomb blast, or or a nuclear disaster, etc., definitely that place has to be urban renewed without any two ways at all. So, the obsolescence of land uses, shifting of manufacturing industries, that is, when a place has a colliding or conflicting land uses besides each other, and because of that, there has been many disasters such as gas emissions and gas explosions, etc. So, because of that, those obsolescence and blight, the land uses have to be shifted and moved away. So the market driven change of of land uses, the commercialization of Girgaon and Parel areas of Mumbai. Suddenly, if one area is showing a mushrooming of another type of land use because the earlier kind of land use could not exist. Like, for example, in many parts of Bangalore, like the commercial street in Shivaji Nagar, etc., showed the mushrooming of shops initially that the residents had to move out and pull out of that area and move away from the city because they could not accommodate themselves within that area to conserve historic monuments and environment. So, in and around when the conservation and preservation of Taj Mahal had begun, it was not only required for the Taj Mahal to be cleaned, uplifted, and moved, etc., but it was the requirement of the industries near the river banks which had to be moved, which was giving the pollution atmosphere, which changed the color of the marble, Makrana marble that is cladded on the Taj Mahal. So it's not the conservation of the monument, but it is the conservation of the environment around the monument. Also, the landscaping and the renovating the towns, retrofitting certain areas, and creating access to the Taj Mahal by means of broad roads, etc. All these things are also urban renewal. In certain towns, such as Jaipur, etc., where modern facilities are still not available, though the town is fully cladded with red sandstone, it's a pink city with great monumentation and the look and feel of the urban design is exotic, etc. Still, the modern facilities such as basic infrastructure of underground drainage, water supply, and electricity is still not available to the inner parts of the ethnic cities. So, in such cases, also we have to trigger this urban renewal process. So, in summary, when we have to have administrative towns or capitals such as Amravati, and to accommodate a large event and to renovate the town because of disaster, and if there is a change in the outlook of the city because of the change in the land uses, and if a monument has to be preserved, and if there is lack of modern facilities, etc., it is uh, urban renewal is required. So, where it is required is in dilapidating and aging parts of the city, and its full provide and not providing the city its full potential and becoming a health hazard. Like many structures, older parts of the city are so dilapidated that it can be demolished at any point of time. And similarly, congestion. Because of that, many areas of Delhi are smoke ridden and people could not get fresh atmosphere. In terms of infrastructure, the measures of efficient and smooth movement of traffic, improvement of transportation network, provision and improvement of utilities are essential. All these places where congestion is highest, illegal development, unorganized settlements, aged city, and requirement of improved provision of utilities and amenities, these places, urban renewal is the call of the day. Urban renewal refers to demolishing buildings in certain areas and rebuilding it on it in environmentally more suitable standards. Urban renewal projects are mostly for safe buildings to be provided for inhabitants. So, this is one of the concepts of urban renewal, where a particular area is consisting of a very congested as well as aged environment. That whole area has to be brought under acquisition. Acquisition is bringing all the parcels together, and then it has to be either conserved, preserved, or demolished and reconstructed and given back to the owners or the residents. So, another route of urban renewal is revitalization. It's the upgrading of the buildings, land uses, and it also is is to bring life into derelicted areas. So, this is the second way of urban renewal, um, that is upgrading and bringing the life, that is revitalizing and rejuvenating the derelicted areas such as Georgetown and central business districts, etc. They can provide better infrastructure facilities as well as give facelifting to all the commercial buildings and accommodate more shops and make it into a non-motorized streets and make it more viable for commercial shopping, etc. Rehabilitation is um, rehabilitating or bringing the building to the present day standards to suitable to live and work on. It is like conserving, but by providing infrastructure and materials and by conserving certain portions, by rebuilding certain portions. If there is no toilet facilities, you provide, for example, the Ribbon building was rehabilitated with a lot of toilet facilities and modern interiors present day, where you need the flow rays and bus bar system to provide systems and computers, etc. So if it has to be IT respected, these buildings have to be rehabilitated. So by bringing the building to an upgradation to suitable working of present day situation, by providing air conditioning or providing lifts, or bringing water and sewerage system, etc., is rehabilitation. Transformation is actually giving one shape, transforming that area from one form to another. If it is a totally it's a residential area but showing a law, all the residences have been converted into commercial facilities and people can no longer live over there. So the transformation of the land use from the residential to commercial as a whole has to be attempted. So facelifting is a method of makeup of the buildings. Like, for example, in many places where the aging of the population and insufficient infrastructure is existing, and so the facelifting, painting and reclaiming the older status, like Fort Kochi and as well as in Pondi, where in Pondicherry, where the French colony and the Dutch colony has been given the facelifting. So people actually look forward and go to that area to shop and spend time, and there are some lot of eat outs and people walk in the Fort Kochi area to enjoy the same. The last but not the least, the most important aspect is gentrification. Gentrification is the term frequently used for residential areas, although it might refer to any urban land use. The term refers to all the interventions to help upgrade the living standards of the urban quarter. Often, the government or the private investment brings wealthier residents or commerce and thus renovate the premises. It is argued and criticized that this process pushes poorer local occupants and causes migration and therefore not welcome. The classic example of this is Chettinad. Many of the houses in Chettinad are Nalakattu houses with sloping roofs, and many of it have large residences, but only few people staying inside that. They have a very very degraded lifestyle, because still they have to fetch water from the well. Still their basic sanitation is only by open toilet system. Though the houses are massive, it has a lot of ethnic, cultural and historic value, and in that case gentrification is employed, where Taj group of hotels and other group of hospitalities have brought concepts of converting these large homes into kalyana mandapams, marriage halls, resorts, places of stay, cultural weddings, and thematic concept functions, parties, etc. Because of which people around the world will enjoy the ethnicity of this place. Because of this, all the facilities of upgrading the infrastructure, putting it, this method of doing it is called as adaptive reuse. So you are adapting the whole thing and you're putting it to reuse, and because of this you are renovating the premises, so conservation is happening. You are preserving all the cultural concepts of their wedding, of their artifacts, utensils, architecture, culture, etc. And uh, the ethnicity of the town is maintained, so preservation is happening. And at the same time you're upgrading the facilities such as the infrastructure of the roads or sanitary facilities, water supply, good electricity, different way of lighting as per modern standards, etc. All these things are happening and the entire town gets celebrated. Many such havelis have adapted the same concept by a very famous group called as Nimrana in Rajasthan, and many Portugal and Dutch colonies, and in French colonies, and in their idea itself is to bring back the older settlement to new leisure hospitality group. So while doing this process is called as gentrification. Many of the agraharams also require gentrification because the older way of living has adapted a particular architecture and styling in and around the religious towns, though there is still no access to facilities of electricity, water supply, and sanitation. So, that being the case, this entire concept of rejuvenation of this area and giving it a facelift, and reclaiming the older status and celebrating it, etc., will push the original residents from that place to migrate to other places, though they will be economically fulfilled. But therefore, this process is generally not welcome. But gentrification, as such, is a great process of reclaiming towns and settlements. So, in urban renewal, we saw rehabilitation, transformation, facelifting, gentrification, and revitalization, which is rejuvenation, and also conservation and preservation aspects in some of these. So, why this is getting replanned is that to control future growth, uh, and also healthy environment, proper land use, correct the mistakes, and also correct the density, land use, communication, proper utilization of parks, playgrounds, land uses, public utility. This is the main objective of urban renewal. So, urban renewal basically can be conceptualized in three or four points. The first point is it is undertaken by the public authorities, where in two places, the residential parts of the city and the central business districts. The residential parts of the city, inner cities, include inadequate housing, environmental degradation, and non conforming uses. What is the point in having a huge vegetable market next to your house and you are unable to even bring your car and get down in front of your house? So, non conforming land uses. And if there is a rice mill or a chili market next to your house, because of the economic value has increased, people wanted to use it as godowns and warehouses, How can someone inhabit next to the same place? And inadequate housing, if the density of that area is increased to multifold, that people have to live in one room, but they have to pay very high rental value. So, if there is inadequate housing or environmental degradation and non conforming uses, inner parts of the cities where the residential units exist have to be urban renewed. This is the first point. Second is central business district, which shows traffic problems, congestion, and dilapidated buildings. A very proper example of that is Georgetown in Chennai. And many areas in Mumbai, etc., and also in Delhi, Chandni Chowk, etc., require urban renewal in central business district because of traffic problems, decongestion, because of congestion and dilapidated buildings. So, what are the tools? How do we do this urban renewal? First is slum clearance, demolition of dilapidated buildings, relocating or redevelopment. Next is redevelopment. By doing acquisition of that area, all the parcels, each is redeveloped and given back. Rehabilitation is repair and improvement of the existing structure, which is housing improvement. Many housing board apartments in Chennai have been given to the private developers with higher FSI. So they build new homes to these housing board apartment owners and build some more number of units which the developer sells off and gain profit. At the same time, the already existing housing board owners get new apartments. So, conservation to retain intact and unchanged, environmental improvements to improve the environmental conditions, economic renewal is by changing the lifestyle of these people by paying less rental income or moving them to non-dilapidated structures so that they get a new until they get a new house, or the commercial district itself is given a facelift and it is renovated with broad roads, pedestrian pathways, and it has become totally non-motorized, and so that the economic value of the commercial business district increases, and so people go and shop over there. So benefits of urban renewal. Um, what are the benefits of urban renewal is that urban renewal is that it creates mixed use development and creates regional hubs to reduce the pressure on the residential and commercial pressure on the inner area. It creates more employment opportunities. It attracts investments. Proper intensification of land uses and densification of the area can create new markets for business and enhance housing affordability. People can look to even move to the inner areas instead of moving to the suburban areas. Capitalize on existing infrastructure by already existing infrastructure such as roads, accessibility to metro stations and railway stations, etc., will be there, but they would have not been in use because those areas are not areas of good access. So, by improvising these areas, these railway stations, metro lines, etc., will be put to use, increases tourism value. So, in Indian context, unprecedented force of urbanization has grown exponentially, and administration was not able to cope with rapid urbanization. So, aged old infrastructures weakened and decayed to degeneration of the core areas. So, urban renewal provides life to the dying cities. So, urban renewal projects fall under redevelopment, economic development strategies, housing loans and other financial tools, streetscape improvements, transportation enhancement, historic preservation projects, and parks open spaces. In order to claim urban renewal in an area, the historic preservation can happen, which can uplift that area by enhancing the transportation by means of metro rail or paratransport system, monorail, bus rapid transport system, etc., or by giving that streetscape with good lighting, street furniture, pavements, bicycling and pedestrian tracks, giving lanes of transport, the area gets a good uplift. And open spaces and parks in a dilapidated area will enhance the value of that area. People will start moving into the area because of these amenities. And economic development strategies like the housing loans and financial tools of lesser interest and lesser and more viability, if given to the projects in these area, urban renewal can happen more frequently and easily. So, the first concept of urban renewal includes preservation of the historic structure. Maintenance is reclaiming the structure by removing certain materials which were used after the structure was built, and then restoration is bringing back the lost parts of the building, and reconstruction is bringing in more landscaping and other features into the conserved areas. And adaptation is if the old building was not utilized for anything, like how I was talking about Chettinad or Jaipur, etc., where thematic weddings are being done in the palaces, old palaces and havelis. So that is adaptive reuse by preserving, maintaining, restoring, reconstruction, and adaptation. So, heritage conservation is important in identifying, recording, analyzing the protecting the heritage and cultural resources. It gives an identity and continuity of that particular feature to the future generations. And also by adaptive reuse of heritage buildings, uh, creating sustainable communities. So still these palaces don't have to be demolished, it can still survive, and it brings back a cultural identity and heritage to that particular area. So the values in conservation include emotional values, which are continuity and symbolism, and a cultural value such as archaeological and value, and use values such as functional value of tourism or adaptive reuse. So high quality building conservation should always retain the cultural significance, should use the traditional techniques only, and should use skilled contractors and do only what is necessary, and retain and repair the fabric, and identify and readily identify some small new works. So this is the first quality of urban renewal, which is conservation. So emotionally, to have a continuity to the past, giving an identity to the future generation, and archaeological value is maintained by means of symbolism, and eco- ecological and technological aspects, and as well as functionally we can utilize it for some utility or the other. So because of that, conservation can be achieved by means of preserving, maintaining, restoring, reconstructing, and adaptively reusing it. So the next concept is sustainability. So sustainability includes about 17 to 18 concepts, in which there should be no poverty, that is reducing the gap between people who have and don't have, and reducing hunger, well-being. Everyone should have the quality of air, have the right to education, uh, keeping a cleaner environment, quality of drinking water, sanitation facilities, and sustainable communities, industrialization and infrastructure to be improved, employment opportunities, climate action. Any action in the environment should not bring about a climate change, impacting the environment in a less fashion. And peace and justice and partnership, preserving the wildlife, preserving the domestic wildlife, as well as preserving the marine resources, uh, using less resources of we all know, using less resources and emitting and reducing emissions, causing zero emissions. So all these things have sustainable outlook to the environment. So environmentally, socially, economically, we have to work towards sustainability. Sustainability can be achieved by eco cities, considering social, economic, and environmental impact. So access to public resources, urban renewal actions, reduction of CO2 emissions, favoring ethnic consumption, reduce, reuse, and recycle. These are the elements of sustainable city or eco cities. Environmentally and economically making it viable, socially and economically making it equitable, and socially, environmentally making it bearable. So, EcoCity is a human settlement by self sustaining, resilient structure of natural ecosystem where self sustainability of the settlements are achieved. Health abundance to the inhabitants without consuming more renewable resources, without consuming non-renewable resources, and having less emission to the environment. So a green urbanism is a movement where they work in terms of energy and materials. energy is Energy is by the kind wind energy, electrical energy, gaseous energies, etc., and by materials. And social and cultural features, urban planning and transport, wildlife and diversity. So, energy and materials, local materials must be used, renewable energy must be used, and zero waste concept and local food. And social cultural features like the gap between the rich and poor should be reduced, governance and leadership should be improved very democratically, education and research should be given importance, livability, health, and mixed use must be encouraged. Cultural heritage must be retained, and special strategies of developing cities should come up with. And so, urban planning and transportation, density and retrofitting, climatic context, transportation and public spaces, green buildings, etc. All these things should be replanted by conserving the biodiversity as well as water management, and making a low impact on the environment, landscaping and bringing about more natural areas, so the biodiversity and ecosystem is retained. So by bringing about all these concepts together, green urbanism can be achieved. So, there is a requirement of building these smart cities. So, the smart cities can be built with the strategic planning committee, and using strategic planning workshops and coming up with a strategic plan. So, strategic planning workshops should have a great influence from the community participation and local self help group, non governmental organization, intellectuals, and institutions. So, community participation is the call of the day in the economic development. Uh, we'll come to the smart cities next, after community participation. So, this community participation, where the individuals or citizens' initiatives participate in the planning process so as to make their interests as private persons as a group, known as public participation, where the information is shared by the decision makers to the public, and the decision makers take the consultation in the form of meetings, surveys, comments, opinions, judgments, etc. And then they collaborate with the public, uh, in the form of ballet systems. They take the decisions from the public and work towards it. So why should they involve the public is to ensure that the requirements of the target population is achieved in fulfillment, and also to make sure that the citizens of the own area take what they want instead of making a bureaucratic decision. So this can be achieved by interviews, surveys, small groups, focus groups, and by having meetings and reviews of studies, content analysis, um, and field surveys, participant observation, etc. So governance has taken a model of e-governance now, e-democracy and e-participation and citizen activation through e-participation, urban planning to GIS and other softwares, and informatic systems like urban informatics, computing, etc. So e-planning can lead to better community participation. So when we are doing all this conservation, sustainability, eco cities, as well as e governance, and also by economic redevelopment strategies, etc., what are we to achieve is that we have to achieve two concepts. One is place making. Placemaking is a philosophy. It is a planning, design, and management of public spaces. So, how do you make a place? So, two people, writers, Jane Jacobs and William H. White, who wrote about eyes on the street. So, creating a good social life of the people of that particular place is by creation of public spaces. So, this will actually capitalize the assets of the community, inspiration and potential, and creating and promote health, happiness, and well-being. So, placemaking is an art of creating beautiful spaces so people have the eyes on the street, enjoy that place, capitalize that place, get fulfillment and inspiration of the place, and the community socially becomes very enriched and works for improvement. So thereby they get health, happiness and well-being. So the eyes on the street, the phrase used in Death and Life of Great American Cities, where there must be eyes upon the street and eyes belonging to those we might call as natural proprietors of the street, meaning the citizens of the street should have eyes on the street by creating squares, plazas, parks, streets and waterfronts. So landscape often plays a great role. So, in Life and Death of Great American Cities, in the writings that we read in the last class, where she spoke about mixed use development. This mixed use development can be achieved only through transit oriented development. So, transit oriented development is a tool for urban renewal, very important tool. So, like conservation, like sustainability, like eco cities and e governance, transit oriented development is the next best tool. Transit-oriented development is a region where the workable fit exists between the transit services and the urban form. The compact mixed-use development well suited to rail and flexible bus services well suited to dispersed development, and a paradigm of sustainable regional development. So, transit oriented development, where the areas in and around the infrastructure of bus rapid transport system, mass rapid transport system, metro rail, suburban rails, para transport system, or busways, etc., should have good density, it should densify, and with a lot of mixed use development of residential and commercial put together, and should have a good social life with the help of physical public spaces, and thereby the people in that area can connect by using bicycle and pedestrian paths. And so it should be a compact development with a lot of high-rise buildings, so people can easily use the public transport system to transit. So the full utilization of the transportation is put into use. So benefits of transit-oriented development is that TOD is the opportunity for revitalization of the older neighborhoods we already saw. So the older neighborhoods which already has all this infrastructure, but since it is not, since these older neighborhoods don't have the best of the modern facilities, they are not put into use. And this reduces the dependency of cars, creates more activity on the streets, and it encourages community activities like parks, entertainment, recreation spots, and it gives enhancement to high density and compact development, whereby the value of the land becomes higher. So the types of transit metropolises are, we have around four types. First is adaptive cities, adaptive transport, strong core cities, and hybrid. Adaptive cities have invested in a lot of rail systems, but there is no affordable housing or open space or a mixed use development around these areas. So, in adaptive cities, the mixed use development of suburban communities should be planned along the rail corridors. Adaptive transport is that many old core cities where have very high land value, have very high potential, a compact development of mixed use open spaces can also be planned, etc., but there is no connect using any transit. So transport should be adapted in these metropolises. In strong core cities, where integrating transit and urban development within a more confined city central city concept, that is, uh, where the central business district should have an integrated tram services, light rail services, etc., and streetscapes should coexist with pedestrian and bicycle paths. Hybrid is a combination of adaptive cities and adaptive transit, where there is no transport in compact, high density development. Transportation should be planned, and um, where there is the rich resource of infrastructure, and no development can intensify, we can raise the FSI in those areas and densify those areas, and thereby achieve a good transit oriented development. So, forming the transit metropolises, uh, um, what are the achievements? So, it reduces the effect on the traffic. People start using public transport, and the transportation demand is increased, so people spend less. As more and more people use the public transportation, the value of the money spent on the urban transportation reduces, and regulation on the auto performance by fuel efficiency, thereby their CO2 emissions can be reduced, and properly pricing the transportation, so it can be affordable, using GPS and other smart ways of accessing to adjust according to traffic signals. E-commerce, virtual shopping, and non-motorized transport such as bicycle facilities and pedestrian provisions, etc., uh, can make transit oriented development a great success. So smart cities. Smart city is another tool for urban renewal. After conservation, sustainability, eco cities, e-governance, and then we saw transit oriented development. The next one, what we are going to see over here, is smart cities. Smart city is an integration of technology into strategic approach of sustainability. So, rapid urbanization has resulted in heavy strain on energy, transportation, water, building, and public spaces. So, 100 smart cities were planned of and under JNNURM, and 48,000 crores were to be invested. So these smart cities have e-learning, participatory governance, digital inclusion, intelligent buildings, energy and environmental efficiency, carbon reduced carbon emissions, and online-based learning system and livable cities, etc. E-seva, banking facilities, everything coming on a information technology platform was a smart city until they understood that smart cities are much more than everything. So after studying smart cities in China, Europe, Amsterdam, Barcelona, etc., Indian Lavasa city, Gift city in Gujarat, and New Raichur, etc. The key elements we stated below: economic development, investor competitiveness, improving the lives and livelihoods of the residents, proper facilities of entertainment, safety, security, infrastructure, importance given to public transport, reuse, readapt, reduce and recycle was adapted. Parks, gardens, community halls, interactive social infrastructure was improved, and efficiency, sustainability, and livability was improved. So, Internet of Things, anywhere, any place you can get anytime, any context, any device, anyone, anybody, any business, any network, in any path. So, this could be achieved by means of the smart city. Smart city indicators are about six indicators. So, smart people, that is, people with on having a good online platform of learning, and learning becomes socially inclusive for everyone with embracing creativity and education. Smart living is by safe, cultural, and secure and happy living. And smart economy is by entrepreneurs and innovators and business happening online. So, access of business to everyone. E-governance is by filing any kind of complaints, transparency in data, and approach to the government in the click of the phone itself. And use of green buildings, renewable energy, water management, sanitation, by means of devices in the hand itself. Smart mobility in by non-motorized options, mixed by special purpose vehicles, and surveillance cameras, security cameras, IBM, integrated building systems, etc. All these parameters give smart city. So, the level of smart people can be created by public participation, community participation, level of qualification among the people, where knowledge is shared with every individual in a very transparent format, and a smart economy where the entrepreneurs and the production and leads to higher GDP per person by self-employment, and e-governance by from passport to learning to decision making, public participation by paying your phone bills, electricity bills, water bills, etc., all by the click of the phone. Smart mobility by using your metro rail and monorail systems, easy access from one place to another without depending on private transport, and a smart environment where water management systems, clean sanitation systems are achieved by use of technology such as major sewage treatment plants, and reuse of the wastewater. Refuse water is getting reduced, and good quality of air we breathe because of the reduced transportation on the road. The pollution is getting reduced. Use of efficient appliances such as refrigerators and air conditioners in energy saving format, and smart living with the help of integrated building management system of operating the home from office by connecting all the appliances with a click of the phone, and smart cooling, smart heating by solar utilization of solar appliances, and depending on non-renewable or sources of energy should be reduced, and renewable sources of energy such as wind energy and solar energy should be increased, biogas should be utilized in full, etc. All these things lead to smart ways of living. So, um, uh, e-governance, in terms of smart services of the people, where the quality billing, grievances handling, resource management, and the way the bins, the solid waste management, where the bins are getting filled and people have to clean it frequently, and property tax and accounting and personal management and revenue collection is easily recovered, and planting of plant management, collection, distribution, billing, etc. The municipal services, all these things can be done on an e-platform. And similarly, we have bikes, biking systems like Rapido, etc. Anywhere we can take a bike, go leave it over there, so all and we can order food, and similarly we can operate the appliances at home using integrated building management system, using GPS and GPRS. We track a lot of things around the world, and using sensors we can operate in public transport system without buying tickets. We can recharge and we can travel. So all these programs were part of the smart city development in the past, which is also continuing. So because of this, people can walk with up to 500 meters and cycle to school, um, sta- railway station, school, railway station, neighborhood center, park, place of worship, shops, etc. And only high-speed rail, airport, metro station, people have to travel using public transportation system. So, because of all these things, the lifestyle changes have happened, and the quality of lifestyle is to be improved. So, through urban renewal, we saw redevelopment, rehabilitation, rejuvenation, relocation, revitalization, renewal, um, restoration, and how things can change the quality of the lives of the people through well-being facilities, and also smart ways of living. So with this, we learned redevelopment using uh, urban redevelopment using these tools and techniques. So next we have to see how we have to do the environmental management. So that we will see in next class. Thank you.